Thanks for tuning in to Discover Stories on Reimagine Radio. Before we get started, here's a word from our sponsor.
Do you wish you had a voice in making some of the world's most popular websites more accessible? Fable is recruiting a community of paid assistive technology users who work from home to test websites and provide feedback on how they can be improved. We're currently recruiting testers who use Dragon, voice control, eye tracking, switch controls, and head mice. No resume, no cover letter, and no experience with user testing is required. Learn more and apply at www.makeitfable.com/community.
All right, I am now interviewing Lyda, who is a client here at BCMOS Paddling. Hello, Lyda. Could you tell me a little bit about yourself?
So my name is Lyda, and I've been coming to BCMOS kayaking for, I think it's about 3 years. I have multiple sclerosis, and I have difficulty walking, so I have weakness in my legs, and so being able to come kayaking has been a super big part of the joy of my summers. Yeah.
That's awesome. How did you find out about paddling, and what made you really decide that you wanted to get into it?
So it was kind of a mistake, to be honest, or just something that I noticed. I come down to Olympic Village pretty frequently, and as I was using my scooter, I noticed a sandwich board that said BCMOS. Honestly, it was a little bit of a smaller font, and I was like, oh, what's that about? So it must have been a couple days later, I ended up Googling BCMOS and saw that it was a mobility opportunity service, and was really excited about the different opportunities that exist with sporting things, so kayaking and sailing and the hiking and things like that. So I just started to investigate, and I don't remember the exact first kayaking session I had, but I remember being super excited about the people and just how easy it was. They helped me into the kayak. I felt 100% safe, and being on the water was just a beautiful experience, and I just came back as often as I possibly could.
That's great. You mentioned the other sort of activities. Did you end up getting involved with those, like sailing and?
Yeah. So I think it was last year I got involved with the trail. What's it called?
Trail riding.
Trail riding. So I did that a couple of times, and it was so fun to go into the UBC. I think it was UBC Endowment Lands, where they take you into these trails that there's no way I'd be able to get in there by myself. The two workers, they brought me in between the rotting out trees, and it was an amazing experience. And then they were having a pilot for hand cycling, so I did that a couple of times. That was awesome. And I tried to get into sailing, but it booked up pretty quick. So I was able to go this year, though. I think I've been 4 or 5 times this summer, and that's amazing. So yeah, there's tons of opportunities, and it makes my summer a million times more enjoyable. Yeah.
That's great. Awesome. Yeah, there's some pretty cool stuff available. What's your favorite part about coming here? Just describe maybe what you get up to here.
The best part of BCMOS are the people. Every activity that I go to, the people are so friendly, so smart, so focused, so helpful. We always have amazing conversations. Doesn't matter who is interacting with me. I love the people. You're always greeted with a smile, never treated differently because you have a disability. It never even comes up, barely. And if it does, it's thoughtful conversation about your life and what brings you joy. So I would say the people are amazing. However you guys select your employees, it's a great process because everyone's amazing.
That is great to hear. And then a little bit more about your own life. I hear that you are a teacher. That's very cool. Where do you teach, and what do you teach?
So I teach in Burnaby, and I'm a high school science and leadership teacher. So I typically teach Science 8, Science 9, and by 12. And yeah, I think, people often say, oh, you're a high school teacher, and they kind of oh, it must be terrible. But I think they just don't have experience working with high school kids, because they're pretty amazing, pretty inspiring people. So, yeah, does that answer the question?
Yeah, that's great. I guess being a teacher frees up your summers to do fun things like this.
Yes, definitely. So it's nice to have 2 months off. And so I try to book, I booked my sailing sessions in May, kayaking, thankfully, or I don't, maybe unfortunately for some people, there's cancellations and they always call me pretty quickly. And so it's nice to come down and have an impromptu session as well.
And you were saying you even might want to start learning guitar at VAMS?
So when I saw that there's music, I was like, oh, yes, please. So I think music is kind of therapy for the soul. There's a lot of music therapy, I'm sure you know. And it's nice to have these services. And again, it's about awareness. So I hope that with this podcast, that people start to learn about things that exist for you. And even though you have a disability and maybe you have difficulty getting around or accessing certain things, BCMOS and all the other organizations do a really amazing job of making these activities accessible to you, and it feeds you. Like, it makes you feel better amidst all the difficulties in your life. And music is a beautiful medicine for our souls.
Awesome. Thanks so much for talking. Yeah, I hope you have a good season of school, since this paddling is ending soon and school's starting up.
1 more week, and that's it. We're back at it.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm now interviewing Emily, who is a client here at the Paddling Center. Hello, Emily. Thanks for joining us today. Could you mind telling us a little bit about yourself?
Hi, my name is Emily. I am a blind snowboarder, and I am also an educational assistant with the school board here in Vancouver, BC.
Awesome. How did you first get involved with paddling here? Yeah, what made you want to pursue this?
So as I said before, I'm a blind snowboarder, so I was doing stand-up paddleboarding as a cross-training sport. I'm originally from Ontario, and so I started doing paddleboarding in Ontario about 5 years ago. My paddleboarding coach ended up moving to Vancouver a few years ago. And so I got permission to continue training with him. So I came out to Vancouver one summer to do training with him. And then I was looking for different things to do while I was out here training, because I had like extra time and stuff. So I found BCMOS, and so I started with them. So
That's awesome. And if you can hear some thumping, that's that's Emily's dog, Darling, who is very happy.
she always loves getting on podcasts and stuff whenever we're on it. So
That's great. Yeah, she'll definitely be in the background. So do you normally stick to paddleboarding, or do you like to sort of do all the different types of paddling they have here?
So I was doing paddleboarding with my paddleboarding coach. So with BC Moss, I was doing kayaking, and I'm still doing kayaking, obviously. So I'm doing lots of kayaking. We've been doing it. This is my 4th year doing it now, so it's been super, super fun. So
Yeah, that's great. Do you participate with any other disability foundation activities? Like, have you ever gone to the sailing or to the hiking or anything like that?
my first year, I got into a little bit of the hiking. I haven't done it since, but I want to get into more hiking again. I've also heard about the cycling program, and I wanted to get into that this summer, but didn't get a chance to. So hopefully next summer.
That's really great. Do you have like a favorite memory about coming here? Maybe from this summer or even from other summers. Do you have a good, maybe a good paddling story you could tell us?
Yeah. So I have been learning how to kayak with BC Moss. One of the staff here, Magali, has been teaching me how to kayak. So she's been like teaching me different like kayaking skills for kayaking. And so we started out in the double kayak for the first few years. And then this year we've started to like play and transition over me to the single kayak. So that's been really super fun it's been an adventure for both of us, and we've both learned a lot. So that's definitely a highlight of this summer. So
Yeah, that's great. Awesome. Yeah, I guess the season is coming to a close, but now you'll probably start getting pretty active on the slopes then. Can you tell us a little bit about how that goes for you and what the training process is like?
Yeah, so because the paddling season is coming to a close, it just means snowboarding is coming up. So that's really exciting. So we're kind of like in pre-season training right now. So so I do a lot of training in the gym. And so that gets ramped up for like the next few months, up until about a month before we hit the slopes. And so right now it's just a lot of like conditioning and strengthening, making sure like all my muscles are ready for snowboarding when we're ready to get on the mountains. And then I've also started to learn, it's called Snowga. It's yoga specifically for snowboarders that's been created by snowboarders. So yeah, it's pretty fun actually. I just started it a few weeks ago, just trialing out to see how it goes, and it's actually going really well, and I really like it. So because it's literally like yoga specifically for snowboarders, so it's like all the same moves that you would be doing like on a snowboard. So it's just kind of like just further conditioning the body to make sure like you're ready for the snowboard season, and so you're nice and mobile and stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Maybe we'll wait 1 second here while they do a little bit of things around us. All right, and I hear you're working towards going to the Paralympics, was it?
Yeah, so I'm a blind snowboarder, so working towards building the sport of para snowboarding. It just started in the Paralympics in 2014, so my category is still being developed, so working to develop the category and just like get more exposure for blind snowboarding because it is fairly new and they just need more athletes in order for it to get to the Paralympics. So I'm working super hard to get the word out there that blind snowboarding exists because a lot of people don't really know it exists because it's such a small group of us. But yeah, my ultimate goal is to get to the Paralympics and to obviously get blind snowboarding into the Paralympics. So
yeah, and then hopefully win at the Paralympics, right?
yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Awesome. Yeah, okay, that's great. I hope maybe we can even have you back on sometime to talk more about blind snowboarding. I think that would be an awesome episode. But until then, thanks so much for being on the podcast today. It's been great. I hope that you have a really great season of snowboarding ahead of you, and hope your summer was really great.
Thank you for having me on the podcast, and I definitely love to come back. So.
Awesome. Great. Thank you. Darling, does she have a bark?
She does, if I get it there.
Want a bark, darling?
Where are you going? Where are you going?